Welcome into the Commanders Report live show. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Thank you guys so much for joining me here this evening to talk some Commanders football after essentially a week of NFL free agency. It's been a little bit more than that, but obviously the Commanders have made a lot of moves. This roster looks a lot differently than it did just 2 weeks ago, and today we got a lot of stuff to talk about here on the show that I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy. First up, the latest Commanders news and rumors. There's still a couple of positions that the Commanders could still very easily add players in free agency that we're going to talk about in our first segment today. Talk about some of the options at those two positions. Then we'll get into our latest 7-round Commanders mock draft. No trades today, but honestly, I think with how many moves Adam Peters and the Commanders made during free agency here over the last week and a half, like you don't really need to trade down in the first round anymore, or at least not as desperately as you did a couple of weeks ago, it seemed like. And then, of course, as always, here on the Commanders Report live show, I'm answering your questions on the Washington Commanders. If you have any questions on any of the new players that the Commanders have signed over the last several days here, if you guys have questions about Nick Cross or De'Ami Brown or Rashad White or Tim Settle or any of the guys that we have signed, Dafe Owe, Caleb Chason, Leo Chanel, all these guys that we have brought in, Amik Robertson. It's a lot of meat on the bone there. So if you have a question about anything regarding the Washington Commanders, whether it's free agency related, draft related, if you got a trade idea you want to throw by me, you guys can get on the show today for free by using hashtag Commanders down there in the live chat room. We've already got about 200 people watching live around the world right now, so make sure you guys get those questions on the show today with hashtag Commanders. And if you want to guarantee that you get your question on the show today, you guys can super chat to get on the show today. And really the only way to guarantee your question gets on the show is if you super chat. And it's any dollar amount, guys. $2, $5, $10, $20. Doesn't matter to me. If you donate anything to this show, you are going to get on screen and get on the mailbag this week. So I want to see who is all here. Type those me's down there in the chat. We got a very special surprise for you guys here at the top of today's show coming up here in just a second. But first, who's all here? Type me down there in the chat if you are watching live. We got over 200 people watching live right now. We've got Jeff Barber. We've got my lovely fiance Cassie Voth in the chat. Everyone say hi to Cassie. We've got Richard Barker. We got Jaden Carras. Hope I'm saying that right, my friends. We got Essa in the chat. We've got Ludo. We've got Kenny Lewis. We got Jerry, Brian, Steve, Rico, David, Damian, Kathy, Take Command, Deckery. We've got Greg. We've got ya boy Malico. We've got Caesar Holmes. We've got Damian Johnson. We've got Gregory, Michael, Carmichael. We've got Dave, Ray. Don't know how to say that one. We got Damon. We got JG in the chat. What's up, JG? Good to see you, my friend. Got Doug. We got Jerome. We got Nico. We got Damien. Got a good crew of Commanders fans ready to talk some football. And, man, today's a very exciting day for me, guys, because I've been trying to get this T-shirt made for the Washington Commanders Report for years, and it is finally here thanks to our awesome merch director here at Chat Sports, Arnold. He has cooked up this beast of a T-shirt. A Scary Terry T-shirt is now available, and guys, we have a special launch flash sale for you guys on our website right now. This T-shirt is going to retail for $29.99, but you guys can get it $10 off right now for the next hour, okay? So you guys have about 55 minutes to get your Scary Terry McLaurin T-shirt at chatsports.com/scary. Our producer Ponzi's putting that link down there in the comments and description of today's show if you guys want to make a purchase. And if you guys want this T-shirt for essentially $20, all right, you guys can get that done right now when you go to our link, chatsports.com/scary. And by the way, guys, if you guys buy these things up, my boss is telling me we can do even more awesome merch opportunities here on the Commanders Report. So if you guys want one of these T-shirts, it comes in black, it comes in red, and it also comes in white. And I think every single colorway looks amazing, guys. So just want to let you guys know that on the website, it's going to say $29.99. All right, that's the original price. And the discount is not going to show up until you get to checkout. All right, but just go through the process. Eventually, you'll see that $10 off discount, and you'll be able to get this T-shirt for $19.99 for this hour only. Okay, once the clock strikes 6 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. It goes to its original price of $29.99. Personally, Ponzi, I'm kind of loving the white. I like the white colorway here where you've got the paint splatter in the background. You got Scary Terry on there with the scream mask. Got the football on the ground. I think our boy Arnold absolutely cooked with this t-shirt. Guys, if you agree with me and you want to get one of these t-shirts here, it's just $19.99 for the next hour. Chatsports.com/scary to pick it up today. Ponzi, which one is your favorite colorway here, man? I'm absolutely loving it. With the black and the white, personally. Like I think the red one looks good too, but I think with the paint splatter in the background, I just think it looks absolutely fantastic with the black and then the white colorways. Also, I'm going to be giving shout outs to all the people in the chat that make purchases today. So shout out to Carmichael F., who has already made the first purchase. So shout out to Carmichael. Someone is asking about the biggest size. It goes up to 5XL. I believe it goes to extra small to 5XL. So no matter what your shape or size, we have a t-shirt for your size. Okay, guys? What's that, Ponzi?
I can confirm it's extra small to 5X.
All right, perfect. So Carmichael F. is the one with the first purchase. Carmichael, let us know what color you got, man. I think I'm going to get...
This is my favorite one right here.
You like the red one?
I love the red one.
Okay, we might have to get you a red one for Commanders game days this year. I think I might be getting the black one. Maybe a white one. I don't know. I'm stuck between the black or the white. But, we've been trying to get this specific t-shirt made for this channel for a while. And our boy Arnold was gracious enough with his time to come up with this design and, get everything ready for us. So if you guys want a Scary Terry McLaurin t-shirt, they are just $19.99 for the next hour. Chatsports.com/scary to get that discount. Again, guys, on the website, it's going to say it's $29.99, but just go through the process, get to checked out. You guys will see that the $10 off discount will be live for about the next 51 minutes. All right, if you don't purchase yours now, then we're going to be looking at you guys having to pay $29.99, $10 more for the same t-shirt, all right? So help us launch this thing, prove to our bosses that we should have more merch opportunities here on the Commanders Report, and if this t-shirt does well, we could probably do something for Jaden Daniels. We can do stuff for a number of different players here with the Washington Commanders. So I want this to go as well as it possibly can. We got a couple more purchases coming in here. Lorenzo T. has made a purchase. Shout out to Lorenzo. Daniel L. has made a purchase. Shout out to Daniel. We got William R. making a purchase. Stacy B. making a purchase. Caesar M. making a purchase. You guys are absolute legends. And by the way, guys, I do think we're going to get into our first segment here, and then we'll do one more push here for the t-shirt before we get into our second segment today. We are going to be making sure we give shout-outs to everybody that makes a purchase of a Scary Terry McLaurin t-shirt on today's live stream. Jeff B. coming in with an order. Shout-out to Jeff.
Malik said he got the red one.
Malik said he got the red one. All right, well...
hey, I'm not alone. I love the red one.
Hey, man, Ponzi loves the red. I'm really a fan of the white, man, because I think it looks like a blank canvas, and then you've got kind of the paint splatter in the background. Then you got the contrast with the scream mask there on the t-shirt.
Through the defense.
I think our boy Arnold really cooked with this, guys, and he spent a lot of time on this, and I hope that I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys buy this up right now. $10 off on our website, chatsports.com/scary. I'm giving shout outs to everybody that makes a purchase today. But Ponzi, let's shift our focus here to some football here, where obviously now that the bulk of free agency and the signings there are done, and most of the veteran additions that the Commanders are going to make this offseason are on the team now a lot of the focus is going to start shifting to the NFL draft. And, there's a bunch of different prospects that are being linked to the Commanders in mock drafts and in rumors and all this different stuff. But should Washington look to stay put at number 7, or should they still try to trade down in round 1 this year to try and get more draft capital? Because they still only have 2 picks in the top 100. They only have 2 picks in the first 4 rounds. Have they done enough in free agency for you to not want to trade down and get more picks?
There's an argument to make for both cases still. I think they do have the talent to stick and pick. But I really do think that, if you really want to get more draft capital, just because you don't have any, and this is a pretty decent class, to still get quality players that will have day one impact. I think, if you're looking for the non-sexy approach, I think you should look to trade down. But I do think that there's an impact player, and there's like 3 names that I would stick and pick for, if you even can trade out. Because I think, Mekhi Lemon, I think, David Bailey, and this one might be a little bit of a risque choice, but Jordan Tyson, man.
Jordan Tyson would be good. What do you think about Sonny Styles?
Well, obviously, I think Sonny Styles won't even be there. If he is there, turn in the card right now. Like, if he's there, I have no questions about sticking to picking. But, like, if those 4 guys aren't there, I know it's going to be very difficult to see. Like, maybe a Caleb Downs falls. I wouldn't be mad at picking him at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at Caleb Downs.
But, like, I just really do think that I'd much rather have 3 good players than 1 great player right now still.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, I think when you look at the needs, like what exactly like are their needs in terms of players that they need to draft like in the top 100? Like what are positions that like you got to have starters right away? Center, I would say, with Nick Allegretti. I mean, maybe he's your option there, but honestly, I would not want him to be the starting center. I'd like him as a backup center. But honestly, they might still sign Graham Glasgow or Brock Hoffman or one of these, or Ethan Pocic. There's still a number of decent starting centers that are still available in free agency that they could still bring in. So if they bring in one of those guys, that's no longer a need. You brought back Chris Paul. I don't think you necessarily need offensive line in the first round. I would
like some secondary help, just to have
Yeah, secondary help. You could always use it. Linebacker, maybe. Frankie Louvu on the final year of his deal. He's not going to be around forever. Edge rusher, maybe. I think they've got the 3 guys that they like right now with Odafe Owe, Dorrance Armstrong, and Kayvon Chason. But you can always add somebody for the future. But like in terms of positions where like you got to have somebody to start right now, I would say wide receiver is probably the main one because you don't know what's going to happen with Brandon Aiyuk. And with all due respect to De'Ami Brown, he's at best a wide receiver 3, probably more of a wide receiver 4. Got to make a couple of additions to wide receiver. You have to find an answer at center. Again, you can always find help at corner and safety, but like when I look at this roster after what they did in free agency, Ponzi, I kind of like where we're at right now. I like a lot of the young players that they brought in. I don't think there's honestly too many holes. And as you'll see in our mock draft today, like I think you can really cover all of your bases on the roster heading into next year without having to trade down. Now, if there's a good offer on the table, like if you trade down and you can get some draft capital for 2027 even, which is supposed to be an awesome draft class next year, I might consider moving down. Like I'm not opposed to moving down, but I think what the Commanders did, and this is something that's I think commendable for Adam Peters and the job that he did here over the last week and a half during free agency, is we're now in a spot where we don't have to feel desperate to move down, where we're just going to take any deal to get an additional day 2 draft pick, right? We're not going to do that. Like if we have a player that we absolutely love, like if they fall in love with Sonny Styles, or if they fall in love with Mekhi Lemon, or if they fall in love with Caleb Downs, or hell, even Jeremiah Love, who knows? Like they can take that player and they can feel comfortable doing that, and they don't have to feel beholden to the needs that they have on the roster necessarily.
And I would say, like in addition to your point right there, I think though it would be nice, like not saying you trade down all the way out of the first round entirely. Like I don't think that's going to be a case. I think you trade maybe mid-teens, late first round to the 20s. I do think that there's still quality players that you can get, like a wide receiver, like maybe Omar Cooper Jr. I really do think that you can get a wide receiver. This is a very good wide receiver class in my opinion. I just think that having those extra day 2 picks and day 3 picks, it would be nice just so that you can get maybe a linebacker, a younger linebacker to replace Frankie Louvu. It's not a question of like we need players who are going to start right now. Obviously, you want that, but you want players that are going to start and develop into those cornerstones. Like maybe a Jacob Rodriguez in round 2, maybe even like forgetting on his name, Kyle Lewis. Pitt linebacker. I think he's going to be really good. I think there is good players that can, not only contribute right now, but could still, be that franchise player, be that good guy, like a Frankie Louvu whenever he was in his prime. I think, there are a certain amount of like it's the whole argument in like baseball where you hear it's like, would you rather have, a good pitcher, one good starting pitcher, or like the best bullpen in the league? And
Yeah.
it's like it's definitely a debate just because I think Jaden Daniels will bounce back, but I just don't know if I really want to rely on a very good free agency class, don't get me wrong, but like I just don't want to rely on it if it's that one great player and someone else goes down, then I didn't draft someone just in case.
Fair
Like a cornerback.
Fair enough. We got a couple more. By the way, I am seeing some people get questions in the comment section, but they're not using hashtag Commanders. Make sure if you guys want that question on the mailbag today and you want it answered, you have to put hashtag Commanders somewhere in the comments, okay? If you don't do that, we can't see it, and if we can't see it, we can't answer it. So make sure you guys use hashtag Commanders if you want us to see your question and to get it up on screen. Shout out to Travis W., Sean W., Douglas P., Andre D, and Michael F for making Scary Terry McLaurin t-shirt purchases.
I did see a comment from Ludo. He said, I know the deal is limited time, but is the shirt limited time or will it be on the website permanently?
I think that this is one of those that will probably be on the website permanently. It kind of depends on how this initial launch goes, though, because if it's not selling, then I think our bosses will probably continue it. But if we can really do a great job with this, get a good wave of initial sales today, I think there's a good chance that this will be on our website permanently, guys. Okay, so if you guys want to get this t-shirt today for $10 off and you don't want to have to pay full price, we got about a little bit over 40 minutes to go here. If we can show it one more time before we get into our first segment here, Ponzi. We got 3 different colorways for our Scary Terry McLaurin t-shirt. Comes in black, it comes in red, and it comes in white. I think I'm personally probably going to get the black one. I like the white one as well because the paint splatter in the background kind of makes it look like a blank canvas, and I think that's a pretty sweet look right there. But no matter what colorway that you prefer, or you can get it $10 off on our website right now, chatsports.com/scary. Get this t-shirt for about $20 today. Just a reminder, guys, on the website when you first click it, it's going to say $29.99. It's not going to take the $10 off until you get to checkout. Okay, so just so you guys know that, if you see $29.99, we're not scamming you, I promise. It is $10 off. You just got to get to the checkout portion of the process for the $10 discount to show. What's that, Ponzi?
Caesar M just commented in chat too, and he just bought another one. He bought the white one because you won him over.
Hey, Caesar M made another purchase.
I am kind of liking the white one.
Dude, I'm telling you, it looks like a blank canvas, and then you got the paint splatters in the background, and you got the football, and you got the scream mask. Like, I'm telling you, man, you wear this t-shirt to any Commanders fan team function, whether it's training camp, whether it's a Commanders game, people are going to say, that t-shirt's awesome, where did you get it? And I hope that when they ask you that question, you say the Commanders Report by Chat Sports, because we've worked really, really hard on this, guys. It helps support the channel. It's a revenue stream for us. If you guys want more merch opportunities, we can definitely cook up some more stuff for you guys if you want us to. Let us know that you want us to, though, by making a purchase today. Chatsports.com/scary. Again, $10 off for the next 40 minutes or so. And while you guys are purchasing those, I'm going to give another round of shout-outs after we're done with our first segment. But we're going to get into our first segment of the show here, guys. The latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders. We've got a couple of positions that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn could definitely still address in free agency that they haven't really done to this point, that I think that they certainly could here over the next few weeks. We'll talk about some of those options. What are the pieces that are still out there that the Commanders could go get? We're going to answer those questions for you guys right now on the Commanders Report. So without further ado, let's get into our first segment. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and on tonight's show, should the Washington Commanders sign another wide receiver? The Commanders sure seem to be waiting on the 49ers to eventually release Brandon Aiyuk, and they might even be considering taking a receiver in the first round of the NFL draft, but there's still some pretty darn good veteran wide receivers up on, in free agency that are still available that the Commanders could potentially go get. We'll talk about that at the top of today's show, and then we'll talk about why haven't the Washington Commanders signed a veteran center. Are they really going to go with Nick Allegretti as their starting center this year? Are they going to go to the draft and get that position? We'll answer some of those questions here on today's show. But before we get into the content today, you guys can pick up our brand new Scary Terry McLaurin t-shirts on our website. You guys can go to chatsports.com/scary right now. We got 3 different colorways for this new t-shirt, guys. We've got the black, which is, I think, personally my favorite. I think I'm going to get myself the black version of this t-shirt, but we also have a red colorway and we also have a white colorway, and I think the white one looks particularly cool as well because it kind of looks like a blank canvas where you got the paint splatters in the background. You still got the scream mask there for Terry McLaurin. This is a t-shirt that I've wanted to be able to do here on the Commanders Report for a very long time, and now that we're getting into the merch game and because you guys have knocked out some of the other merch opportunities we've done so far out of the park, our bosses have agreed to let us do this. So if you guys want more of these type of t-shirts on our website, if you want one for Jaden Daniels, if you want one for Deron Payne, if you guys want one for any of the players that are on the Washington Commanders roster, we got to sell these and sell these guys fast, all right, to prove to our bosses that you guys want this kind of content. You guys can go to chatsports.com/scary to pick up our new Scary Terry McLaurin t-shirt merch on our website, and I can guarantee you guys, you wear this t-shirt to any Commanders team function, whether it's Commanders fans, whether it's training camp, whether it's a Commanders game, whether you're going to a barbecue to watch the game with your buddies, people are going to ask you, man, where did you get that t-shirt? That is freaking sweet. And I hope that when that happens, you guys will tell them that you got it from us here at the Commanders Report by Chat Sports. All right, so now let's get into the content of the day, starting with the wide receiver position, because I think the Commanders are in a little bit of a predicament right now where Brandon Aiyuk is kind of who they're, planning on bringing in as their number 2 wide receiver this year to pair with Terry McLaurin in this Commanders offense. But obviously he's being kind of held hostage by the San Francisco 49ers right now. So the question and the predicament that the Commanders have is should they sign another starting level wide receiver to add to the roster in case something goes crazy here and Brandon Aiyuk is no longer an option at some point during the offseason. Now, like I mentioned, right now, John Lynch and the 49ers are kind of holding Aiyuk hostage. They don't really save or lose any other money if they don't release him right now versus later in the offseason. So they're kind of doing what the Browns did with Baker Mayfield a couple years back, where they're just going to hold him and they're going to see if somebody bites on a trade for him, and then they'll probably release him very late into the NFL offseason where he'd be free to sign with anybody just before the start of training camp. And if I'm the Commanders, I am not biting on this. I think, Aiyuk wants to play for the Commanders. So when and if, the 49ers do release Brandon Aiyuk eventually, I'm not really that worried about it. Aiyuk is free to work out in the offseason with whoever he chooses to on his own time, which of course can include Commanders players. He already worked out with Jaden Daniels in the offseasons anyway, and I'm sure that he could work out with not only Jaden, but Rachaad White, another one of his former college teammates, and Terry McLaurin, and all these guys that get together with Jaden during the offseason throwing program. Obviously, he can't attend team OTAs or anything like that while he's still a member of the San Francisco 49ers. But right now, you look at this wide receiver position, and it's looking pretty bleak. I'm not going to lie to you guys. You got Terry McLaurin, who's a legit number 1 receiver still, in my opinion. De'Ami Brown is who they brought in last week. He's somebody that played pretty well for the Commanders a couple years ago as like a wide receiver 3 type, played really well in the playoffs, has a connection with Jaden Daniels. That's nice to have, but outside of those 2 guys, you got Treylon Burks, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, Van Jefferson, a lot of guys that either A, haven't played great in the last several years, or B, haven't proven themselves as legitimate starting caliber players. So obviously the Commanders still need to add to this group eventually, and when it comes to De'Ami Brown, I would rather have him be more of a wide receiver 4 type that can, be a spot starter in case there's injuries. Injuries are going to happen eventually. To have him kind of be the guy in relief in this wide receiver room, I think is a good strategy for the Washington Commanders. But, I do think they probably got to add 2 more starting caliber receivers to the group. And personally, I wouldn't mind signing another veteran wide receiver. It gives you some insurance for the Brandon Aiyuk thing. It wouldn't prevent you from taking a wide receiver even in the first round of the NFL draft if you wanted to. And there's still a number of pretty darn good veteran wide receivers that are still available in NFL free agency. We can take a look at some of those here where, you've got Stephon Diggs, who just had over 1,000 yards and was the number one receiver on a team that just made the Super Bowl. Like, bringing him in that scenario is either your wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3, depending on how good Brandon Aiyuk is going to be this year, would be an awesome wide receiver trio. Jawan Jennings, somebody that has a connection to Adam Peters from his time in San Francisco. He's very used to being a wide receiver 3 type. Like, you bring him in and then you bring in Aiyuk, you've got a very, very solid wide receiver trio here in Washington. Deebo Samuel, somebody that I've said for a long time, if you can bring him back on a team-friendly deal and he's your wide receiver 3, I still think Deebo can be valuable for the Washington Commanders as a gadget type of player. Tyreek Hill, probably not my favorite because, of the legal stuff and then the major knee injury, which he's not fully recovered from. Not my favorite option there, if I'm being honest with you, but he's definitely dynamic. And then DeAndre Hopkins, somebody that does have a connection to David Blau. They were teammates in Arizona back in the day. Could those two maybe reunite here in Washington? I think it's possible, but I would say probably the first 3 guys on the list are probably the guys I would keep my eye on at this point. And guys, you can still sign one of those receivers and then also sign Brandon Aiyuk. All the guys that I just mentioned, I mean, they're not signed with NFL teams at this point for a reason, right? And I think because of that drives down the price tag to bring them into Washington. So if you can get one of those guys on a team-friendly deal, then right now Spotrac is projecting Aiyuk to get like a 1-year, $12.3 or $12.5 million contract with the Commanders. That's also very affordable. Like, you can, put together a group of 3 veteran wide receivers to pair with Jaden Daniels heading into the season. It really wouldn't be that difficult to do. Plus it opens up your options in round 1 of the 2026 NFL draft not as well, because if Brandon is not released by the time the draft starts and you only have, 2 like legitimate starting caliber receivers, you can still draft a Mekhi Lemon. You can still draft a Jordan Tyson if you want early on. Or if you want to draft somebody in round 3 at pick 71, you could do that as well. Like, you still have every option available to you, even if Aiyuk is not on the team once we get to the draft. And really my preferred pick between those 5 receivers that are still available in free agency would be Jawan Jennings. I mean, we've seen Jawan be a really good route runner with really good hands. He's been able to step up even into a number 1 wide receiver role when some of the top receivers in that 49ers offense have gone down. Almost had 1,000 yards receiving with the 49ers just a couple years back. And he's one of the premier run-blocking wide receivers in the game. I mean, what are the Commanders trying to do this year more? They're trying to run the ball more. Having a great run-blocking and screen blocking wide receiver in your room, I think, can be valuable. Even if Aiyuk ends up signing here with the Commanders, even if you bring in a receiver early in the NFL draft, I still think Jawan Jennings brings value to this football team. And because he hasn't been signed to this point to a big contract, I don't think he'd be that expensive to bring in. So I think Jawan Jennings makes a lot of sense for the Washington Commanders here. And I'm hoping, that Jawan, kind of comes down from his asking price. It's been reported that he's been looking for like $20 million a season. It seems like he's not even close to that. I think he's probably going to end up signing more towards like the $10 million per season range. And I think for that price tag, I would absolutely bring him in if I'm the Washington Commanders. Because guess what, guys? The Commanders still have the most cap space for the 2026 season out of any team in the NFL. They've got money to spend on a player like this. So if I'm Adam Peters, I got a connection to a player like this. I know what he's all about. I know what he brings to the table as a good supplementary wide receiver. I think Jawan Jennings would be a great fit here in Washington. And I'm hoping they make that move sooner rather than later. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Should Washington sign another veteran starting wide receiver this offseason? And if so, which one do you think they should sign? For me, the answer is yes, and I would sign Jawan Jennings. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Cheers. While I tell you about Cheers, let me know down there in the comment section what your plan would be at the wide receiver position for the Commanders. After the age of 30, even responsibly drinking alcohol will make you feel less than 100% the next day. Obviously, there are more negative effects from alcohol than just dehydration. It has a depressant effect on specific receptors in your brain, and it is also toxic to your liver as well. That's where our new sponsor, Cheers, comes into the picture. Cheers Restore is a dual-action after-alcohol aid. Its ingredients support both your brain and your liver after consuming alcohol. Based on research into a novel compound called DHM, Cheers was originally invented by a student at Princeton. DHM demonstrated powerful alcohol-related properties in the brain and liver, so Cheers is designed for how alcohol actually affects your body, not just dehydration. And just to show you guys what you guys are going to be getting when you purchase something from Cheers here, you guys get this little cylinder with all those capsules in there. And personally, I don't drink alcohol. If you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you guys know that. But we've been using Cheers here at Chat Sports for a while now, and a lot of the people that drink on game days and stuff like that tell me that this stuff really does work. But don't just take my and my coworkers' word for this, guys. Cheers has appeared on Shark Tank, is sold in over 30,000 stores worldwide, including Walgreens, CVS, 7-Eleven, and Circle K, and they've sold over 50 million doses. Cheers' promise to you is simple. You'll feel about 50% better the next day or your money back. Basically, 2 drinks feel like 1 the next morning. All you do is take 3 capsules after your last drink or before bed. I want to be 100% clear with you guys here. This product is not for college binge drinking. If you have 12 tequila shots, you're probably still going to feel rough the next morning. But if you're a normal adult responsibly having 2, 3, or 4 drinks on a given night, you'll feel significantly better with Cheers the next day. So have your same nights out, only with way better mornings with Cheers today. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting 20% off their entire order by using code CHAT at cheershealth.com. Just head on over to cheershealth.com and use code CHAT for 20% off. After you purchase, the last word I heard about them, please support our show and tell them that we sent you. And a big thank you to Cheers for sponsoring today's edition of the Commander's Report. Now, another lingering question that surrounds this Washington Commanders roster at the moment is why haven't the Commanders signed a veteran center to be their starting center in NFL free agency yet? This has been one of the positions that I've been saying for a while that I want to address. And, because I'm not the biggest fan of Nick Allegretti, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. He's certainly never established himself as a top end or even above average starting center in this league. When he did play center last year, it was not particularly pretty. And if the Commanders played a game right now, Allegretti would be this team's starting center. Now, a possible answer for why the Commanders have not, made a move officially yet is because the player that they're targeting is taking his time and or it's either taking his time to contemplate retirement or something like that, or he wants more money than the Washington Commanders are currently offering, and he's willing to wait to see if he gets more money, and the Commanders are willing to wait to see if their offer ends up being the best one for that particular player. And the player that I specifically have in mind here, guys, is Graham Glasgow, who was the starting center for the Detroit Lions over the last several years. He has flirted with retirement before. It's possible that he has not made an official, decision as to whether or not he's going to play this upcoming season, but I could definitely see the Commanders being interested in him because guess who they're modeling this offense after schematically? Ben Johnson, right? David Blau is a Ben Johnson disciple, and Glasgow was Johnson's starting center in Detroit for multiple years, and now he's available for probably a pretty affordable price tag. So I could definitely see the Commanders going all in to get Graham Glasgow, and they might be just willing to wait here to see if Glasgow wants to play in 2026 or if he wants to retire or if he's trying to get a little bit more money from somebody. And obviously at this point he hasn't signed a contract with anyone, so he hasn't been getting the money that he thinks that he's deserving of, at least to this point. But it definitely wouldn't shock me at any point here if we get the news that the Commanders end up signing Graham Glasgow in free agency. But obviously another possibility here is that this team is just good with Nick Allegretti as their starting center. There's been some reports that have popped up, especially after Allegretti got his 1-year extension. And by the way, they paid up for him, right? They gave him $7.5 million on the one season that they added to his contract. So, they gave him a pretty decent chunk of change. It would not completely shock me if he ends up being their plan at starting center. Maybe he's got a great relationship with David Blau and Jaden Daniels. I don't know. I haven't been particularly impressed with Allegretti in his 2 years here in Washington. He hasn't graded particularly well. His film is not fantastic. And when he did play center last year, it wasn't all that good. So even though we have heard some whispers from, inside the organization that they think he's a better center than he is a guard and they think that he can take the next step, do we really want to bank this position on that unknown without bringing in other competition? I just don't know if that's what I want to do. I'm hoping that this Commanders team still has something in place in terms of a plan to bring in at least some competition for Nick Allegretti. If they bring in an Ethan Pocic or a Graham Glasgow or somebody in the draft like a Jake Slaughter from Florida, for example, and Allegretti just beats them out in camp, great. He earned the job, right? But I just have my reservations about just handing the starting center job to Nick Allegretti when he's never proven himself as a, even average and serviceable starting center at the NFL level. He's really only started at any, big-time level here at guard with the Washington Commanders and a little bit with the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's only, played a little bit at center for the Commanders, and like I mentioned, the film was not particularly great from Allegretti at that spot. So if the Commanders end up going from Tyler Biadasz, who I view as like at least a serviceable starting center, like he wasn't great, he was fine, he wasn't absolutely atrocious, maybe it was too expensive for the price tag that they were paying for him, but like to go from him to Nick Allegretti, like there's a pretty decent chance that you end up downgrading at the center position if the Commanders fail to make a move at this spot, in my opinion. There's still some good options out there. You got Glasgow, you've got Ethan Pocic, Brock Hoffman, who was with Dan Quinn in Dallas for many years, is still available. He can play center as well. So there's still some good options out there. I hope the Washington Commanders come to their senses here and bring in some competition for Allegretti at this particular position sometime soon. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. Will the Washington Commanders sign a veteran center in free agency at some point this offseason? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. And that'll be it for today's edition of Commanders News and Rumors, brought to you by Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much for joining us here this evening. Of course, we're going to continue to get you guys great Commanders content all throughout the 2026 offseason, every single day for free. So if you don't want to miss any of our videos here on the show, make sure you guys click that subscribe button. And until next time, guys, go raise some hail. All right, 23 minutes to go in our flash sale for the brand new Scary Terry McLaurin t-shirts we have on our website. We have a new group of people that have bought t-shirts here that I'm going to give shout-outs to. Shout out to Michael B. Shout out to Miguel C. Shout out to Andre W., who bought 2 of them. Big shout out to Andre. Shout out to William V. Shout out to Anthony S. Shout out to Dewey B., David C., Shano M.R., Andrew M., and Marcellus D., who also bought 2. So shout out to Andre W. and Marcellus D. for buying 2 of these babies up. And if you guys are just joining us, you guys aren't aware of this deal that we're doing right now. We just launched these t-shirts on our website, and right now you guys can get your t-shirt $10 off. You're going to see on the website that it's listed at $29.99. That's the normal price.
And just to mark this for, I did see your comment, Carlos. We did fix that. It is now at the original price, or at the discounted price. So we see that you were trying to buy 3. We did fix that for you.
All right. So shout out to Carlos. I think Carlos is trying to buy another one here.
He's trying to buy 3.
He's trying to buy up all 3 of them. All right, so big shout out to Carlos, the triple crown there. But like I mentioned, guys, it's going to show up as $29.99 on the website. You have to go all the way to checkout before the $10 discount gets applied. So just go through the process at checkout. It's going to give you that $10 discount, and that deal is only good for about the next 21 minutes, guys, okay? After the timer, once that clock strikes 0, it goes back to the normal price, and you're going to have to pay $30 for the t-shirt, okay? But for the next 20 minutes or so, you can get our brand new Scary Terry McLaurin t-shirts for $20, all right? And personally, I think I'm going to get the black one personally. I think the black look looks really good, but I also think the white look looks amazing. It looks like a blank canvas with the splattered paint in the background with Scary Terry with the point and with the football on the ground and with the screen mask. Like, it's just, I think it's a really, really cool look. Big shout out to our merch director, Arnold, for helping us out get this going today, because this is a t-shirt that I've wanted to get on the channel for a long time here, Ponzi. I've wanted to get this up on the Commanders Report because I knew you guys would absolutely love this. I think it's a unique look, and I think it's one of those t-shirts where, you wear it to a party, you wear it to Commanders training camp, you wear it to a Commanders game, people are going to be like, that shirt is sweet. Where did you get that t-shirt? So if you guys like compliments, I think that this t-shirt is perfect for you. You can get it for just $20 right now. Ponzi, you like the red look, though.
I've always been a big fan of red. I just like red. I don't know, man. Like, the Commander red is one of my favorite, red shades. Be real hex color nerd here, but like, it's just a really nice shade of red. And I think, I do like the white, though. I think I've been turned around on the white. because of what you said. I think you're making a great point here about the canvas. Although I just don't think with myself trusting myself, I don't trust myself with a white shirt in general.
Yeah, fair enough. That's honestly probably why I'm going to end up going with the black look for myself.
All of them
here.
look nice. Obviously, everyone has their own favorite color. I'm going with the red. Sperry's rocking with the black. I'm sure there's a lot of people who like this white too. I really do like this one. If I just knew I couldn't get it dirty, I'd cop this right now.
By the way, our merch director Arnold has let me know right now that so far we have sold 27 of these babies already, we're
up here right quick.
And just so you guys know, yesterday after the Jalen Waddle trade on our Broncos channel, they sold their brand new Jalen Waddle T-shirts. They sold 50 of them during their live show. So I think we might do something a little special. We might do like a giveaway or something here if we can beat them today and sell 50 or more units today. All right, so that's what I'll do for you guys. I'll do that special deal right now. If we can sell 50 or more of these T-shirts before we get off live today, we'll do a special giveaway for one of these T-shirts, okay? So if you guys want to help support the channel, chatsports.com/scary. Again, you got about 18 minutes to go here before time runs out. And you have to pay full price for these T-shirts. So if you don't want to pay full price, you want to get these things $10 off. You can buy them up right now. And if we can get to 50 units sold before the end of the show today, we'll give away a free one to somebody in the chat. Okay?
Hold up, let me get this right.
So Ponzi's been working on a little bit of a graphic here. We'll put up here in a second. And we will be getting into our next segment here in a second, guys. It's our 7-round Commanders mock draft, our latest one.
All right.
So again, big shout out to everybody that has made a purchase already. We've already sold 27 of these things, and right now we are trying to beat the Broncos breakdown with their Jalen Waddle T-shirts that they sold yesterday. They sold 50 of them on the live show yesterday. So if we can match that number on today's live show, we're going to give away a free one of these T-shirts here at the end of the show today. We'll raffle it off to somebody, okay?
So we've got 17 more minutes for the sale. So pretty much by the end of this next segment, might have a little bit of time left, but...
Yeah. So pretty much you guys got till the end of this next segment. Let's actually just get right into that segment here, Ponzi, and then we can do one last final push before we get into the mailbag here. But again, guys, that's chatsports.com/scary. That link is down there in the comments of the show. You guys can click that link. It's going to take you right to our T-shirt. And again, guys, the $10 off discount does not get applied until you get to the checkout, all right? So just keep that in mind. If you get to the website, it says $29.99. That's just the normal price. Make sure you go all the way to checkout to see what happens there. Okay. Carlos, we did get all 3 of your T-shirt orders in. So shout out to Carlos for another one here. Also, shout out to Tyler F. and Stephen T., who just made purchases. Big shout outs to those guys. And now we're at 32. All right, so we just sold 5 more from our latest update. So we're at 32. If we get to 50, we can give away one lucky fan in the chat here for this already an awesome product merch launch here on the Commanders Report. So without further ado, let's get into our latest mock draft. 7 rounds, no trades for the Burgundy and Gold. Who am I taking this week? Let's find out right now. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. It's another week and another 7-round Commanders mock draft here on the show. This is our 9.0 version already, guys. So next week we'll already be at double digits. That is if we can get to 500 likes on today's show. My bosses went up to my desk today and said, Sperry, you cannot do another mock draft on the Commanders Report next weekend unless you guys can get 500 likes on the show today. So I said, challenge accepted. I have faith in my fellow Commanders fans here. I know you guys are going to click that thumbs up icon. So if you guys love these mock drafts, you want to see more of them every single week, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already to help us get to 500 likes on today's program. Now, this week, I'm not going to be making any trades, okay? I think next week I'll probably doing I'll probably do more trade down scenarios and stuff like that. But honestly, man, I look at this Commanders roster and I look at the moves that Adam Peters was able to pull off during NFL free agency, and I think this roster is at a point now where Adam Peters doesn't necessarily feel like he needs to move down and get more draft picks this year. Like, even though you only have 2 picks in the first 4 rounds, you only have 2 picks in the top 100, I think with a lot of, especially the younger players that they have brought in free agency, I think this roster is shaping up to be pretty darn good already here during the early process of the 2026 offseason. And I'm excited to see what they can do here with their top 2 draft selections. And if they are going to stay put at number 7, one of the players that I would definitely consider sticking and picking for is linebacker out of Ohio State, Sonny Styles. Now, I did say last week, in last week's mock, I said, most likely they're going to go receiver. And if Mekhi Lemon's there at 7, I think he's going to be the pick. I still, pretty much feel that way. I think Lemon's a great fit for Washington. But if they're going to go defense, I think Sonny Styles makes a lot of sense, because what I would do with him is I would turn him into this defense's big nickel defender and allow this defense to essentially never get out of nickel. All right. And you look at some of the best defenses in football, the Chargers, the Seattle Seahawks, like they've got those big nickel players that kind of play that hybrid linebacker slot cornerback role where, they're in the box to help defend the run, but they're also good enough in coverage to defend players from the slot. Guys like Derwin James and Nick Emenwari and Kyle Hamilton are the best in the world at that kind of position. And I look at a guy like Styles, who is a special pass coverage linebacker prospect at 245 pounds that runs in the 4.4s, the same speed that a lot of those big nickel players that I just talked about run. And I see this guy as a potential game-changing defensive weapon that could be deployed by Durante Jones, the new Commanders defensive coordinator, as this team's big nickel, because at 245 pounds, this guy just has a special way of moving around the pitch where he can play that apex defender in the Commanders secondary, and then also play in the box and be essentially a hybrid linebacker and kind of a pseudo 4-3. And because you have a player with that kind of versatility on your defense, if the Commanders make this pick, you would never have to get out of your nickel formations, which means you could just stick with a 4-down front along your defensive line. You wouldn't have to put extra linebackers on the field ever, because Sonny Styles is essentially a DB and a linebacker all in one. Like, he just brings that kind of versatility, and that kind of versatility can just change your defense. Just ask the Seattle Seahawks last year when they added Nick Emenwari, who ended up being one of the more impactful defensive players in football last year for anybody. Like he was so freaking good in that first year in that role. And, I think going from South Carolina, where he was like a true safety at South Carolina, and honestly, the film was not fantastic for Emenwari in that role, but, using his size, using his athleticism, using, all the things that he brings to the table from a physical gift standpoint to turn him into that hybrid linebacker / slot corner, it allowed Seattle to live in those nickel formations, live in 2 high safety shells. That gives you a huge advantage over the opposing offense, because it allows you to rotate post-snap and disguise coverage pre-snap and do all these things to confuse opposing quarterbacks. All things, by the way, that Durante Jones highly, highly covets, and what he and Brian Flores have been doing a ton of there with the Minnesota Vikings over the last several years. And that could be our reality here in Washington, guys, if we draft Sonny Styles to be our big nickel at number 7 overall. And also, another benefit to this is that I think this would, foster some very healthy competition at the number 2 outside cornerback spot in Mike Sainristil and Amik Robertson. Like, for me, Sainristil and Robertson are both guys with question marks to me. Sainristil obviously hasn't played terrifically in his first 2 years in the National Football League, but he was a high draft pick. The Commanders don't want to give up on him. And, they bring in Amik Robertson, and you could theoretically start both of these guys. Like, you could have Sainristil or Robertson play outside or in the slot. You can mix and match those guys. You could go that way, but if both of those guys stink and you don't have that big nickel player like in this scenario with Sonny Styles, if they both stink, cornerback is once again going to be a major issue for the Washington Commanders next year. So I think, the best way to go about it, if Sonny Styles is there at 7, you take him to be your big nickel defender, and then hopefully, Sainristil or Robertson, one of them turns into a good player on the opposite side of Trey Amos as your number 2 corner. I think if you want to solidify, this Commanders defense, and, you want to make a pick at number 7 that's going to have the biggest impact for your football team heading into the 2026 season, I don't think there's a more impactful player you could take in this draft than Sonny Styles. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Who should be the number 1 draft target for the Commanders this year in round 1? Who's the player that if he makes it to number 7, you're running that card up to the podium? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section for today's pin question. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Prize Picks. While I tell you about our sponsor today, let me know your number 1 draft target for the Washington Commanders this year. The playoff push in basketball is heating up, and tournament hoops are officially here. And there's no better way to cash in if you're right on the high-flying hoops action this spring than with Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. Every bucket, every dime, and every win means more when you're playing on Prize Picks. And with their brand-new Team Picks markets, you can now pick game winners, spreads, and totals on top of the player picks you already know. So cash in if you're right during all the clutch buckets, slam dunks, and Cinderellas this spring with Team Picks on Prize Picks. On Prize Picks, I can even pick who's going to cut down the nets in a couple of weeks or who's going to win a ring in the summer. Whether it's the tournament or the playoffs, I can call my shot and cash in if I make the right picks, all on the Prize Picks app right now. Download the Prize Picks app today and pick your first game winner, spread or total, as the playoff push rolls in. And get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup when you use code CLNS. Again, guys, that's code CLNS to get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup on the Prize Picks app today. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And now that the defensive back and big nickel is out of the way here, let's go with the need at center, because I'm not the biggest fan of Nick Allegretti at the center position, guys. I'm just not. And the best center in the draft is available here at number 71 for me. I'm going to take him. Jake Slaughter, one of the great names in this draft at the center position out of Florida. I think he's your day 1 starting center. Pair him up with Jaden Daniels for the next half decade. And personally, like I said, guys, I'm just not the biggest Nick Allegretti fan. I haven't been ever since they signed him. Honestly, he's never really been like a true starting caliber player to me. I think he's a really good, and very serviceable backup piece where, he can come in and play guard or center if there's injuries and stuff like that. And I really don't mind the Commanders keeping him around in a backup capacity. But if they're trusting Allegretti and kind of banking, the offensive line in the season essentially on Allegretti making that transition from guard to center successfully this year, something he's not done at the NFL level, I think that would be a bad decision from Dan Quinn and Adam Peters in terms of roster construction. So for me, if Jake Slaughter's there at number 71 and they haven't addressed this position with a veteran, I would still very much be in favor of going out and getting a Graham Glasgow, for example. But if they don't do one of those kinds of moves, I think drafting one here in round 3 makes a lot of sense. Then in round 5, I'm going to take one of my favorite receivers in this class, period, Kevin Coleman Jr. out of Missouri. Now, Coleman is somebody that's slender, okay? And that's why, he's available here in round 5, according to the consensus big board. But he is one of the better route runners in the class, in my opinion. He's got better ball skills than people give him credit for, and he's better after the catch than people give him credit for, too. This guy is shifty. This guy's a good football player, and he's got that foot quickness and the ability to explode out of his breaks and get open and create separation versus man coverage. Honestly, he reminds me a lot of Jordan Addison when he was coming out of USC, and he's turned into a legitimate number 2 wide receiver in this league. I think Coleman, you can make an argument, even in this loaded wide receiver class, is a borderline top 10 receiver in this class, and you could absolutely steal him here in round 5. Obviously, I am, assuming that the Commanders are going to eventually sign Brandon Aiyuk. They could still sign, a Stephon Diggs or a Jawan Jennings. There's still some good receivers still available on the open market at the time of me recording this video. You could bring in one of those guys as well. You bring in a Kevin Coleman Jr. and add him into the mix here. Like, I would not be shocked if Kevin Coleman Jr. works his way full-time into the starting lineup by the end of his rookie season. Like, I believe in him that much. I know he's slender, but there's slender wide receivers that are more than serviceable starters in this league, and I think Coleman is going to prove to be one of those. Then in round 6, I'm going to go Mason Rager the edge rusher from Wisconsin at 187. Rager just completely destroyed everybody at the Shrine Bowl. He was the defensive MVP of the week here in Frisco, Texas. And, Rager is somebody that comes from a long line of these edge rushers coming out of Wisconsin that have turned into really good players, right? It's not a guarantee Rager turns into one of these guys, but, when you're following in the footsteps of TJ Watt, Nick Herbig, and others, from that Badger line of edge rushers, and you look as good as you did at the Shrine Bowl, and honestly, on tape, this guy's been a fast riser up draft boards here over the last several weeks since Shrine Bowl. He was down in the dumps. He was closer to the 300 range a couple weeks ago. Now he's closer to the top 200 range, and he's even cracked the top 200 on the consensus big board. So it wouldn't surprise me if Rager goes round 5, even on early day 3. He really is an impressive edge rusher candidate, somebody that could be potentially a rotational edge rusher on day 1. And, that's, I think, really the role after bringing in Adafe Owe, keeping Dorrance Armstrong, bringing in Caleb Chase on, having that fourth guy in the room is what the Commanders really need right now. I think Rager provides that even as a 6th-round pick. Then also in round 6, I'm going to take Eli Heidenreich, the running back wide receiver hybrid out of Navy. Now, he played receiver at Navy, and he was really freaking good for them. And now he's transitioning over to running back as he enters the NFL. And this is another guy that was at Shrine Bowl, and you could just tell the wide receiver chops that this guy had were on full display, just destroying the linebackers that were at Shrine Bowl with his route running ability. I think he's going to be a dynamic receiving running back weapon in the league with probably some special teams upside. Getting a player like that in round 6, I think, would be a great get for the Washington Commanders. Then in round 7, I'll address corner here with a fun developmental corner prospect in Devin Marshall. Another guy, another Shrine Bowl guy. Maybe I'm a little bit biased to the Shrine Bowl dudes, but Marshall just has awesome recovery speed, and I mean awesome. This guy he's not the best mirroring, and he's got some technique issues that need to be coached up, but, when you've got a guy that can recover with that kind of 4.3 speed and the acceleration that he plays with as well, those are a couple tools, along with the relatively long arms here, that I can work with as a coach, right? So with a round 7 pick, it's a lottery ticket. If he works out, great. If he doesn't, it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to bank on traits this late in the NFL draft, and I'm going to hope that my coaching in this building is good enough to maybe get something out of Devin Marshall someday here in Washington. So this is my mock draft 9.0 haul. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. I got Sonny Styles to be our new big nickel. Got Jake Slaughter to be the day 1 starting center. Got Kevin Coleman Jr. as a nice addition to the receiver room. Mason Rager as a nice 4th edge rusher. Eli Heidenreich to help on special teams, not to mention running back and receiver. And Devin Marshall is a developmental cornerback prospect. So Red Ped time. Let me know down there in the comments section. Grade this week's mock draft down there in the comments section. A, B, C, D, or F. I hope you guys enjoyed today's mock draft. If you didn't, well, we got another one next week. That is if you click that thumbs up icon and get us to 500 likes. So make sure you click that thumbs up icon, click that subscribe button if you guys want more Commanders draft content from us every single day. There's a reason why we are the largest individually run Commanders news program anywhere here on YouTube. This is the place where you guys get your Commanders news and rumors every single day. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you don't want to miss a video. All right, we are right up against the deadline here, guys. About 2 minutes to go. I've got some shout-outs here. All right, shout out to Stephen T., Gregory M., Pavan K., I hope I'm saying that right, Ronnie E., Michael B., Duriel Y., he bought 2. Duriel bought 2 of them, so shout out to Duriel. Hope I'm saying that right. I hope I'm not saying that wrong. Just bought 2 of our shirts. And Brandon G., shout out to you. And we are currently at 40 T-shirts sold. All right, so if you guys go to the website right now, you can take advantage of the $10 off discount. But if you wait 90 seconds or so, another 2 minutes, you're going to have to pay full price. So this is your last call to get the $10 off discount. We're officially at the 1-minute warning, chatsports.com/scary to get your Terry McLaurin T-shirts today. This has been a hell of a launch, guys. 40 T-shirts sold is crazy for just a normal weekday live show. And I think this is certainly enough for us to be able to do more merch stuff like this in the future, guys. Like when it comes to Jaden Daniels and when it comes to, Dan Quinn and all this different stuff. Like we're going to be able to do some really, really fun merch opportunities this offseason heading into the 2026 campaign because this has been such a success. So thank you guys so much. And again, once the timer runs out, you can still get T-shirts, right? It's just they're going to be $10 more. They're just going to be $29.99 instead of $19.99. So I haven't gotten any more updates from Arnold as the timer runs out. 4, 3, 2, 1, and there it is. All right, the discount is no more. If you click on our link, you're not going to be able to get the discount, but you can still get the T-shirt for $24.99 on our website today. All right, so chatsports.com/scary to pick it up today. It comes in 3 colorways. You can get it in black, you can get it in red, or you can get it in white. All right, I think I'm going to get myself the black version because I don't trust myself with a white T-shirt. But if you trust yourself with a white T-shirt, guys, I'm telling you, this is a pretty sweet look because it looks like kind of like a blank canvas, and you got the paint splatters in the background. You still got the Terry McLaurin point with the Scream mask and all that different stuff. So if you guys like the design of this T-shirt, you can get it now on our website, $24.99, chatsports.com/scary to pick it up today. And we are good on questions, according to producer Ponzi. So we're just going to dive right in. We're going to dive right into our mailbag. If I get any more updates from our merch director, Arnold, and any more shout-outs, make sure to do it. And if we can sell 10 more of these T-shirts, guys, before we get to the end of the show, we're going to give one away to one lucky person in the chat, all right? Because the deal is if we get to 50 T-shirts sold today, we will we'll give one away to somebody in the chat. So right now we're sitting at 40. Need 10 more to be sold. I greatly appreciate your guys' support. And we'll have another round of shout-outs here once we get back from our mailbag. So Ponzi, let's get into it right now. All right, you got it? All right, let's get into our final segment of this week's live show, which is a mailbag here. Questions from you guys surrounding the Washington Commanders. Can't wait to see what you guys got for me with the number of signings that the Commanders have made and all the different stuff that's been going on here over the last week or so. I'm sure you guys got a good crop of questions for me. So without further ado, let's get into this week's mailbag right here on the Commanders Report. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Thank you guys for joining me here today for this week's mailbag, where I'm sure you guys have a bunch of questions. Obviously, we're multiple days, nearly 2 weeks removed from the start of NFL free agency at this point. I'm sure you guys got questions on the draft and free agency stuff and all this different stuff that's surrounding the Washington Commanders right now. I'm happy to answer your questions, guys, so make sure you click that subscribe button before we get started here today to join the most interactive Commanders fan community anywhere here on YouTube, or at least we try to be. We have these mailbags every single week. We go live once a week to talk about the latest topics surrounding the Washington Commanders. We go live for every single Commanders game, throughout the course of an NFL schedule. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Join the largest individually run Commanders news program anywhere here on YouTube for your daily dose of Commanders news and rumors. So we'll start here with a $5 super chat from Samad Warren. I hope I'm saying that right, Mr. Warren. He says, I'd take Styles at 7, trade Daron Payne for a 3rd-round pick, and Armstrong for a 4th or 5th-round pick. With those picks, I would get a wide receiver and center. Be blessed. Let's go. So right now, who's playing the other edge spot then? Because you've got, Armstrong. Would you put Kayvon Chase on as the starting edge, and then who's the rotational edge? Those are some of the questions that I have there. Dorrance Armstrong, final year of his contract, coming off an injury, is getting older. I think you'd be lucky to get a 4th or 5th round pick for him. I'm just going to be straight up with you, all right? I think he might be more valuable on the Commanders roster than he is as a trade asset. Now, Daron Payne, final year of his contract, also getting older. Not the most productive defensive lineman in the world. I think a third-round pick is the price tag where I would feel comfortable letting him go for. I just don't know if there's any teams out there that would give up a third-round pick for him. But absolutely, like I think you can look at some of these players and say, okay, what price tag are we willing to let them go for? And I think third round is probably right for Payne. Honestly, with Dorrance, with his injury history and his age and stuff like that, I think probably sixth round pick for him if you want to trade him. But I appreciate the $5 there, Samad. Then we get to JG. He says, hashtag Commanders, what is your level of concern that we don't have a clear-cut on-field defensive play caller to step up for Wagner? Well, listen, man, like you can teach people to do it. Like it's not like you have to have a veteran in there. And I kind of prefer that, the person doing it for the first time is going to be learning with a new system being brought in place and a new play caller is coming in here in Durante Jones. So, I think Wagner, he started to, give Jordan McGee a little bit of that training. So I think Jordan McGee would have a chance to be the green dot. But honestly, I think it's probably going to be Leo Chanel. We'll have to see who they end up giving those duties to. I'm sure we'll get an answer on that at some point during OTAs. But, I just think with Wagner, he was at the point where you had to get him off, man. Like, you have to get him off the roster. You have to get him off the field. He's just too slow. And I actually think, like, in the old school NFL days where, like, all of the linebackers are really asked to do at a high level was like in between the tackles and, blitz from time to time and stuff like that. They weren't really asked to play in space or anything like that or go sideline to sideline. Like, I think Wagner could still play in that era of football, even at his age. But with the modern day NFL where you got to play out in space, you got to be more of a pass coverage player. You got to be able to hold your own in that regard, and you have to go sideline to sideline with the amount of screens and stuff that teams are implementing in their offenses now. Like, Wagner just can't do that stuff anymore. So as much as I love Bobby Wagner, I think he's one of the greatest linebackers to ever play the game. Time has passed him by. I mean, Father Time is calling his name, and he apparently doesn't want to retire. But I'd want him to go somewhere else and return to the Commanders. And, I'm hoping that Jordan McGee, Leo Chanel, maybe Frankie Louvu, maybe, somebody else, maybe a safety can step up in that role. We'll just have to see. But I think it's probably the right time to probably shift away from Bobby Wagner being that defensive play caller here in Washington. Ludo says, will Jeremy McNichols be ahead of Ford in the depth chart? I kind of think he should be. I'm kind of with you there, Ludo. I like McNichols more than I like Ford. I think it'll be more of a competition. I think the Commanders are going to be very open-minded to those two players and how they play in camp. And if I had to guess, I think McNichols will get that number 3 spot. If I'm being completely honest with you, they did sign Ford first, so that might be an indication of something. But I think McNichols is still a pretty solid third down back, someone that's still a pretty decent player. He's obviously not a needle mover. He's not a game changer in any way, but he can catch passes out of the backfield. He's got some, wiggle to him. He's a decent pass protector as well. So if one of the two top guys, Rachaad White, Bill Krosky-Merritt, gets injured, I think McNichols is a good number 3 that can come in and fill that kind of third down back role. So that's what I would say right now. Predict it for me down there in the comments section. Who's going to be Washington's draft pick at number 7 overall this year? Give me your best guess as to who is going to make it to number 7 and who's going to be the pick for the Commanders at that spot. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsors today at Cheers. Well, I tell you about our sponsor today. Let me know who the Commanders are going to take in round 1 this season. After the age of 30, even responsibly drinking alcohol will make you feel less than 100% the next day. Obviously, there are more negative effects from alcohol than just dehydration. It has a depressant effect on specific receptors in your brain, and it is also toxic to your liver as well. That's where our new sponsor, Cheers, comes into the picture. Cheers Restore is a dual-action after-alcohol aid. Its ingredients support both your brain and your liver after consuming alcohol. Based on research into a novel compound called DHM, Cheers was originally invented by a student at Princeton. DHM demonstrated powerful alcohol-related properties in the brain and liver, so Cheers is designed for how alcohol actually affects your body, not just dehydration. And just to show you guys what you guys are going to be getting when you purchase something from Cheers here, you guys get this little cylinder with all those capsules in there. And personally, I don't drink alcohol. If you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you guys know that. But we've been using Cheers here at Chat Sports for a while now, and a lot of the people that drink on game days and stuff like that tell me that this stuff really does work. But don't just take my and my coworkers' word for this, guys. Cheers has appeared on Shark Tank, is sold in over 30,000 stores worldwide, including Walgreens, CVS, 7-Eleven, and Circle K, and they've sold over 50 million doses. Cheers' promise to you is simple. You'll feel about 50% better the next day or your money back. Basically, 2 drinks feel like 1 the next morning. All you do is take 3 capsules after your last drink or before bed. I want to be 100% clear with you guys here. This product is not for college binge drinking. If you have 12 tequila shots, you're probably still going to feel rough the next morning. But if you're a normal adult responsibly having 2, 3, or 4 drinks on a given night, you'll feel significantly better with Cheers the next day. So have your same nights out, only with way better mornings with Cheers today. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting 20% off their entire order by using code CHAT at cheershealth.com. Just head on over to cheershealth.com and use code CHAT for 20% off. After you purchase, the last word I heard about them, please support our show and tell them that we sent you. And a big thank you to Cheers for sponsoring today's edition of the Commander's Report. Next question coming in here from Eugene Weathers says, are we going to go after a center in draft, free agency, or trade? Well, it's going to be interesting for sure. Like, if I were the Commanders here, Eugene, I would go get Graham Glasgow, who is the former starting center of the Detroit Lions. Maybe by the time this video comes out, which is going to be over the weekend probably, the Glasgow's already signed with somebody. Maybe the Commanders have already signed him, but I think that's the way I would go because I don't expect him to be too expensive. He's a veteran presence that is still a very good football player, and I don't think he'd be too expensive to get on the free agency market. You don't have to roll the dice on getting a starting caliber center in the draft. There's not that many of them this year. And personally, I'm not the biggest fan of just rolling with Nick Allegretti. So trading for a center is not going to be easy either. There's not that many good ones, and if you have one, you usually aren't trading them at this point in the offseason. So for me, I think free agency is probably the way to go if I'm the Washington Commanders, but at the time of me recording this video, they haven't done that. So maybe the plan is just to go with Nick Allegretti, or maybe their plan is the draft. I guess we'll just have to see what Adam Peters has in store for us here over the next several weeks. But if you're asking for my answer on this, I would rather go free agency. Then we get to Uncle Ruckus here. Nice name. Says, I genuinely think we are in a good state on defense right now. We could add a guy like Downs or Styles to start and develop, but I think what I want to see at 7 is a wide receiver or trade down. More than fair there, Uncle Ruckus, and I've said on this show, I think wide receiver makes a ton of sense for this Commanders team, especially if they don't make any moves at receiver in free agency. Outside of the Dyami Brown and Van Jefferson signings, and of course bringing back Treylon Burks, it seems like they're waiting for Brandon Aiyuk to eventually get released. John Lynch, the 49ers GM, has already said that Aiyuk is done playing for the San Francisco 49ers. He will never play another snap for that football team. But they can theoretically just keep him around at least until the NFL draft or maybe post-June 1st because they can just designate him as a post-June 1st cut anyway right now and save the same amount of money as if, they cut him now versus right before training camp starts, really. So something tells me that we're not going to get any word from San Francisco on the Aiyuk situation for a while now. But I think the Commanders will be there, ready, waiting to sign Brandon Aiyuk whenever he becomes available. But you still need, in my opinion, another starter outside of Aiyuk. You've got McLaurin, and you can kind of pencil in Aiyuk, but Dyami Brown going into the year as your plan at wide receiver 3 is not a very great plan. Not to mention, Aiyuk will be on a 1-year deal, and he's a ginormous question mark, and, Terry McLaurin could be traded next offseason very easily. So I think this team needs a future at number 1 wide receiver. You're probably not going to be drafting in the top 10 again for a while. At least I hope not. I hope Jaden and this team can, put this team in contention for a long time. take advantage of that number 7 overall pick while you still have it. Get an awesome wide receiver like a guy in Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson or maybe even Carnell Tate. There's a lot of good receivers in this class. You could maybe get the best one on your board here at number 7 if you want to go that route. Now, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a real one, if you watch all of our shows, you appreciate the work that we put in for this content that we give to you guys for free every single day. Help us out for free today by clicking that thumbs up icon. It boosts the YouTube algorithm. It gets this show in front of more people here on YouTube that are Commanders fans. So if you want to help this channel grow, you guys appreciate the work that we put in, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon. All right, we got one from Trist. I've got something coughing here. It says, why did AP cut Tyler Biadasz? Well, I think that they felt like the juice in terms of the amount of money you would have to pay him was not worth the squeeze. In terms of the play that we were getting on the field, right? The juice in terms of the play that we got on the field, and then the squeeze, which is, of course, the money that you're sending him. Listen, man, Tyler Biadasz was fine. Like, he was an okay starting center. Ended up actually getting a pay raise going to the Chargers this year, so good for Tyler. But now that they haven't signed a center in free agency, it's kind of like, what exactly is the plan here? Is the plan actually to just start Nick Allegretti at center, or are we going to wait for Graham Glasgow, or are we going to try and sign Ethan Pocic or Brock Hoffman or one of these guys that are still available at the time of me we're still recording, or are you going to go to the draft to address this position? So I think at the end of the day, the reason why they cut Tyler Biadasz is that they felt like, the player that they were getting was not worth the money that they were spending for him against the cap, and they preferred the cap savings over keeping Biadasz as their starting center. Then we got one here from SPS Rappers who says, I saw something about Coleman maybe switch to center because of some games he played last year. Do you think that works? And move Allegretti to center. I'm not sure if Coleman has any history playing at center. I don't think he does. I might be wrong on that, but I'm not sure if he does. Definitely not at the NFL level. He's only played tackle and guard at the NFL level, and Allegretti stepped in to play center when Biadasz went down last year. In terms of moving Allegretti to guard, we've already seen what Allegretti has done at left guard, and it's not particularly good. Like, he got benched for Brandon Coleman, who wasn't much better, right? So the fact that they were looking for that replacement last year, it tells me that they don't love Allegretti as a guard. Honestly, I think they're going to keep Allegretti at center, and we'll see if they bring in competition for him. We'll see if they bring in a draft pick. We'll see, again, if they bring in a Glasgow. But no, I do not think Brandon Coleman is necessarily an option at center for this team. $5 from Shooting Slump says, if we trade down, how would you feel about us getting Mike Washington, the running back out of Arkansas? He was super stunted at Arkansas, and I feel he could thrive in David Blau's offense. Listen, man, I think if you're getting your hopes up for a running back early for the Commanders, I think you're probably going to be disappointed. Now, we'll see. For a guy like Jeremiah Love, who's a complete game-changing or potential game-changing type of weapon, I guess they could think about that at 7. But here's the thing about Washington. A lot of fumbles at Arkansas, and that's got to concern you. Now, he's got the size, he's got the speed combination, and that's really attractive, right, for people that like speed and like, size and all those different things and like the two of them together in one package. Washington's a very interesting running back prospect for sure, but I think the Commanders like what they have. Like, not only do you have help from your quarterback position in the run game in Jaden Daniels, who's a dynamic rusher in his own right, but you also have Bill Krosky-Merritt, who showed a lot of promise last year. You got Rashad White, who's a very solid number 2 guy. I still think the Commanders could still be in play for Jeremiah Love, could still be in play for a guy like Mike Washington if he's still there in round 3. But you'd probably have to delegate Bill Krosky-Merritt to a backup, and you have to be comfortable doing that. So it kind of depends on how you feel about Bill. If you think Bill can be a legitimate number 1 in this league, I think you probably pass on running back in the early rounds. If you feel like one of these guys, whether it's Love, whether it's Jadarian Price, whether it's Mike Washington, is a better fit and can be a better number 1 running back than Bill can be, then you probably draft one of those guys. So it kind of just depends on how you feel about Bill Krosky-Merritt, if I'm being completely honest with you. So it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comment section. Grade Adam Peters' performance in free agency so far. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F down there in the comment section. For me, I'm going to give him a solid B+. I think that obviously we need answers at receiver. We need answers at center at this point. I'm recording this on Wednesday, by the way, guys. So if you see this on the weekend and you didn't watch it live, that's why, I'm a little bit late on the times here. But I'd give it a B+ at this current state. I still think that I would sign a center. I would still sign another veteran wide receiver. But for the most part, I love the moves they made on defense for the most part. I like some of the moves they've made on offense as well. I think this roster's in a pretty decent spot as we're just a couple weeks away from the NFL draft at this point in time. All right, that'll be it for this week's mailbag here on the Commanders Report. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. I'm going to have more content for you guys here as the NFL offseason continues. We have daily and free videos on this channel every day, getting you guys your daily dose of Commanders news and rumors. So for the very latest, click that subscribe button. Until next time, guys, go raise some hell. Hey! IQ Barbecue! Bang! Making it rain! $100 super chat from IQ Barbecue! Let's go, man! What a bomb at the end of the show. Let's freaking go. All right. So shout out to Gregory M., who just made a purchase of a t-shirt. And right now we're currently sitting at 41 t-shirts that have been sold. So unfortunately, we didn't hit the we didn't replicate what the Broncos were able to do yesterday with their Waddle shirts, selling 50 of them. But also, Ponzi, the fact that we got within 10 of the Broncos breakdown when we just had a normal weekday live show and they traded for a star wide receiver and they had hundreds of people watching that live show. The fact that we got close, I'm pretty proud of everybody in this chat. I'm not going to lie, man.
Commanders Nation really showed up.
Commanders Nation really showed up for us here today, guys. I can't express how my gratitude for that enough, man. Like we've been trying to get a scary Terry McLaurin t-shirt with the Scream mask on this channel for a long time. Now that we're getting into the merch game, our bosses finally gave us the chance to do this, and now 41 of you guys have new t-shirts, and that's awesome. And I hope that if you didn't get a t-shirt today, if you didn't take advantage of the flash sale, you'll still go and get your t-shirt. It's $24.99 on our website right now. If we want to show those one more time there, Ponzi, before we say goodbye today. Again, guys, we got 3 different colorways for the scary Terry McLaurin t-shirts. You've got black, you've got red, and then you've got white. I think I'm probably going to get the black colorway, but Ponzi likes the red one. And then I'm also a fan of the white one. Like, I think that one looks particularly cool because, like I've said like a million times at this point, it looks like a blank canvas. Like, it looks like a blank T-shirt, and then you splattered some paint on there, and you got Terry McLaurin on there. I think that's a really, really cool look. So if you guys want one of these T-shirts, or if you want to buy multiple of these T-shirts, I think this is a T-shirt, Ponzi, where you wear this out to a barbecue. You wear this out to a Commanders game. You wear it to training camp next summer, and people are going to notice you, man. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, that shirt is sick. Where did you get it? And right now you can get it for $24.99 on our website. It's not a $50 T-shirt or anything crazy like some of these merchandise pushes are like at other channels. We're getting it to you guys. $24.99. I think that's a very modest price. Helps out the channel. You guys get a sweet T-shirt to lounge around the house with, to go to barbecues with, to go to Commanders games with. It's chatsports.com/scary to pick up your T-shirt today. We sold 41 of these suckers today. I couldn't thank you guys enough for your support. And that's going to be it for this week's Commanders Report live show. Thank you guys so much for joining Ponzi and I here this evening to talk some Commanders football. Of course, we're going to continue to get you guys great content on the Burgundy and Gold all week long here as we inch closer and closer to the start of the NFL draft in Pittsburgh in just a few weeks. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time, guys, go raise some hell.